Once upon a time, in a small, peaceful village, there was an old woman who lived simply but always radiated warmth and happiness. She was not only kind hearted, but also extremely wise and optimistic. Despite the hardships of life, she always maintained a cheerful and optimistic spirit. The villagers loved her very much, often coming to ask for advice or share their thoughts and worries. She was someone everyone trusted and respected because of the calmness and positive attitude she showed every day. One day, a young man in the village, always curious about the secret of her happiness, asked, "Why are you always happy despite the hardships of life? Don't you ever feel sad?" The old woman just smiled gently, her eyes filled with peace, and began to share her story. Her answer was not simply an explanation, but also a profound lesson about how to look at life, about inner strength and true happiness that comes from within each person. The young man listened to the old woman tell about her life with curiosity and appreciation. She said that when she was young, she had a happy family with her husband and children. Although they were not rich, they were always happy and loved each other. However, life was not always easy. One day, her husband fell seriously ill, and the family did not have enough money to buy medicine to treat him. They tried their best, but in the end, he passed away forever. That day was the saddest day of her life. She cried a lot and felt like she could no longer be happy. The pain of loss made her think that life had no meaning. However, after a period of grief, she realized that prolonged suffering could not be brought her husband back. She understood that she had to continue living, for her children and for herself. She decided to look at life differently, accepting that life would have its ups and downs. From then on, she chose not to let sadness steal her inner happiness. Her story is a testament to the power of resilience and choosing happiness despite hardship. The old woman continued to share her secret to maintaining joy in life despite hardship. Every morning when she woke up, she told herself that today was a new day, a new opportunity to find something that made her happy. Even though sometimes those days were more difficult than others, she still tried to find at least one positive thing. It could be the gentle sunlight shining through the window, a flower blooming in the garden, or a friendly encounter with a friend. Those little things were the inspiration that helped her stay optimistic. The young man couldn't help but wonder, if things were really bad, what if it's bad? How can she still be happy? The old woman replied that life was never easy, but she always reminded herself that everything would pass. Difficulties and sadness were temporary and did not last forever. When things went wrong, she would remind herself that this too shall pass and focus on the positive things in life, such as health, friendship, or simply the good fortune of being alive. This was how she chose happiness every day. The young man listened to the old woman's wise words with deep appreciation. He decided to try to apply her advice to his daily life. From then on, no matter what difficulties or challenges he encountered, he always tried to find at least one good thing in every situation. At first, this was not easy, but with perseverance and willpower, he gradually learned to stay positive and look at things with an optimistic eye. Over time, his life began to change for the better. Difficulties were no longer the things that kept him from living. He no longer felt sad or depressed, but became challenges for him to grow and become stronger. He realized that keeping a positive attitude and focusing on the little things can bring joy and happiness even in the most difficult times. The old woman's story spread throughout the village, inspiring many others. People began to understand that happiness is not something that comes from the outside, but is a choice that comes from within each person. Thanks to that, the whole village became happier and more vibrant, thanks to the meaningful lesson from the wise old woman. The story of the old woman and her philosophy of happiness quickly spread throughout the small village. People in the village began to realize that happiness is not determined by material things or external events, but by how each person chooses to perceive and accept life. They learned that although life is full of challenges and difficulties, there are always small, simple things that we can cherish and find joy in. Thanks to the lesson from the old woman, the villagers began to change their way of life, focusing on the positive and being grateful for what they had. The atmosphere in the village became more joyful, harmonious, and full of life. Each person gradually realized that happiness is not a luxury, but a daily choice and attitude.